Шведска. Во издание на Чудна шума се разбира, разговорот со Ана ќе го води Лени Фрчкоска, која што веќе има напишана и рецензија за оваа книга. Но би сакала прво да ја поканам Анастасија Митровска да ни прочита еден извадок од книгата.
Размислував за следното. Кога ги позајмувам чизмите со штиклена сестра ми, излегувам во, например, тесна мајчка што го открива стомакот, забележувам дека многу мачки ме гледаат. Отпревен е возбудливо и забавно, онака забавно е да се има моки. Замисли да го сретнам виле, но за жал гледаат и чичковците, а и дофрлаат. Се чувствувам како да се гледам однадвор низ туги очи. Потоа ме обзема лутина, или поточно кажано така. Своето тело не го чувствувам како свое. Не сакам чичковците да ми го гледаат така телото. Зошто не можам да носам што сакам? Најпосле, зошто треба некој да чувствува страв толку често? Да мисли на тоа дека треба да внимава, да не поминува сам низ паркот навечер? Зошто треба некој да слуша одвратни работи кога поминува? Зошто некој мисла дека може да се однесува така? Како женските да се некакво животно што може слободно да се лови. Му доаѓа на човек да се запраша кога завршува ловната сезона.
First of all, before starting talking about the book, I want to express my gratitude to Jan for giving me the opportunity and the anxiety before to talk about this book, which I found very important and which I see rarely about the book, but a really good book, really good graphic novel. So first of all, why? About mini books, we can see that they talk about the great themes, the themes about the society and the individual, the theme about the growing up, the socio-political context and the young adult, the question of identity. But these themes, if you know how to look, you can find them everywhere. You can find them in every piece of art, which is not actually almost in every piece of art. Everywhere you can find a great theme. But this actually, it is what is usually written at the back of the books about the great themes once again. But it is not what makes a book a good book. That would be a pretty shallow approach if we just talk about the things that one book writes about. So sometimes it is in the unexpressible, in the way one particular book discuss with the reader. So in this case, while rereading this book today before this event, I was somehow in the mood that I felt a rage actually. I was pretty angry because Anna's skill, or Anna's wonderful writing skills, lies in the subtly describing throughout the text the process of internalization, the constant doubt, and the self-questioning that one 14-year-old girl start to internalize, the great patriarchal voice that somehow becomes her inner critic. For me, that was the most important element that this book develops. The way Rosa's internal voice is analyzing, is thinking, show the ways the patriarchal voice slowly becomes the inner critic. Like you are witnessing the process it's happening. Rosa is here 13. She asks questions that are relevant and will remain relevant when she will be 30 and when she will be 40. And through these thoughts and through her experience at a pretty frail age, you see it happening. At 40, I assume she will have to undergo the pain of changing that voice. It will cost her a lot. Here you see the voice getting its force, and that's why it is important for the girls and boys this age to read this book, because maybe they won't be able to talk about it in this way, maybe they won't be able to, to make a book review about it, but they will feel the pressure of their persona that is happening in the system that is subtly and not so subtly patriarchal. That's why this is a good book, because at the age of 37 you can feel the rage about it, and that's what is good about it. And what is also important, what I found important reading it, was the beginning of the book. Somehow it grasps the reader, and it starts in medias res. There is a girl that is analyzing her body in the mirror. It's something that we have all done. Maybe we don't talk about it, maybe not in the way we don't talk about it, but it's actually done in the way it is written in the first page, and it is on the first folder. So basically, and the question of a woman and her body will follow her throughout her life, wanting or not wanting. So far, I'm pretty, maybe I give some pessimistic approach, but that's how I felt about this book this rainy day. Yeah. But not pessimistic about the book, pessimistic about the society we live in and the burden it puts on a 13 and 14 years old girl that they're going to live with up to some point. And you have been very honest about it and very open about it, and that's the way to actually confront it, through being honest and through being open, because there is no other way to feel things if we're not being open to the pain. That's what Rumi wrote, that's how the light enters in, through the crack. So actually, here you have done a great job. I'm pessimistic about society, very optimistic about this book. So, what have I found very important, and before giving you the stage to talk, is one particular sentence. When Rosa was thinking, she was feeling sad, maybe about Buddha liking another girl, whatever, and she says, I feel embarrassed for being sad. Okay. And this is going to be maybe too personal, and I don't do too personal, but in this case it's important. 2 days ago I wrote a message to a close friend of mine saying, I feel embarrassed feeling bad. And then I found it in this book, and I said, okay, this is, maybe I wasn't sure about this, but this is general human experience, and it's very important. We are used to feel maybe embarrassed when we are being frail, but this is important in the book, and this is one, it's written in a wonderful manner that yesterday hit hard. So instead of embracing the moment of feeling, somehow the society makes us feel bad about feeling particularly, which is actually putting pain on top of pain. And I think it's very important that you emphasize that exact moment, the moment of shame. How are we going to talk about things openly if we first don't confront the shame and win over it? And this book helps in that way. We realize that shame is not so embarrassing to talk about. Someone says that it's a general problem. So for me, this part of the book was maybe the most important one. Although when I was writing the review, I chose different part of the book. But now, a couple of months later, I think that the shame is an important thing to talk about while growing up. So maybe that's the point when I give the space to you. So yeah, tell us about how did you give a 13-year-old girl? In which way you give her this wise voice?
It's not really realistic that the 13-year-old girl is clever, so I helped her a little bit. Because when you are young, I didn't have the language, I didn't have the words, but I had the feelings. And I felt very early this rage you're talking about. I felt why was it something wrong with being a girl? I didn't want to wear a skirt, like the girl in the book. There was something with that I didn't want to. Well, I used my own daughter a lot making this book. She was 13, 14. She helped me a lot with it. But I used my own emotions when I was young because they were quite similar to hers. And I wanted to do this book a very long time, so I started doing that with a comic. I read Simone de Beauvoir, Second Sex, and I thought I should do this like a comic book. And it didn't turn out very well. It was quite boring. So I tried to make it funny, but it wasn't. And I tried to just do text. And so for 10 years I was trying to do this book. It was important to me. And finally I found out I'm not an academic, but I read a lot. I did a lot of research, but I'm not an academic. I'm an artist, so I really wanted to do from the emotions. So that's why she says she has this feeling of shame, but she got the sense it's not coming from inside, it's coming from outside. So that's the feel. What is coming from outside? Why is it coming from outside the society, history? So she's over smart. Of course, she wouldn't be able to write this. Inside the book, there is a comic. That's more from Simone de Beauvoir storytelling. So what it was about, I really wanted to give her a voice and a language which I didn't have when I was that young. So that was the book I needed to have when I was 14, and I wanted to give it to my daughter, all the young people, also the boys, of course, but you can't force them to read the book, but you can put it somewhere. They would be curious, maybe. And also it was my daughter who said I should start with this mirror picture, because that was much later in the book. So she said you have to start with this.
What I would say here is that I don't think that 13, 14 years old girls and boys don't have this sort of voice. They just have to be pushed through dialogue. Sometimes I can be quite surprised of the voice, of the wording they have, but only if they have been asked, if they were asked the right question. And what is Rosa doing here? She asks questions. So when she asks herself questions, she actually asks the same question the readers that have the book in front of them. Somehow it becomes a question for the both sides, which is very important. That's, for me, I would say, you as a writer, you did the right thing, having a question through Rosa's perspective, which is important, because if she was just talking, it would be like a monologue, like giving a lesson. Young people, they don't like lessons. But the questions, yes, because they make them feel relevant, so yes, I think that
and
the
you don't have the answers. It's very ambivalent about, like we all are. At least I am. But, yeah. So, well, I think it was interesting your analyzing. It's very pessimistic. It was like me talking. But if you ask my daughter, she wouldn't be so pessimistic, for instance. And in the end of the book, she got the words, and she's not going to fight. She's not kneeling. So I think it's not so pessimistic.
You were actually right. The ending of the book was nice. They made a cake, they put some red filling over it, something raspberry about the menstruation. Yes. And then they went on holiday, and she
celebrated.
Yeah, it ended pretty optimistic. I was pessimistic also about the social politics in the world generally. Yes, the alt-right is getting stronger, and then there are analysis and statistics that saying that boys are getting much more conservative, while girls are getting more liberal and more open, which we can see in our everyday life if we hang out with boys and girls. So maybe in that context, but the book means wonderful. She has birthday, it's August, she celebrates, and that's a good energy to end that sort of coming of age book. So
yeah, I think you have to try and put yourself in that energy. the positive energy. Otherwise, it will be hard to change things. So I think that's really important. It's not naive. I think it's the way it works. This is the way I want it to be. This is the way I'm going.
Well, yeah, it's some political decision.
Yeah.
That's literally for all.
Yeah.
Понекогаш посакувам да сум грда. Всушност не го посакувам тоа. Попрво би одбила да бидам сладка. Ако одам во школа во најнепривлечната комбинација на облека, грдите чевли на тато, работниот мантил што ни мајка ми не сака да го носи и джемперот кој ти се повраќа. Сакам и покрај тоа да му се допаѓам на Вилен. Или онака, дури уште повеќе да му се допаѓам токму поради затоа. Но никој не сваќа колку слободно се чувствувам. Гледаат само грд, работен мантил. Повеќето момчиња се напорни. Виле не е. За жал, малку премногу гледа во големите цицки на Фатима. Сите момчиња го прават тоа. Моите едва се забележуваат, а носам многу силен пушав градник. Речи се сите женски во моето оделение носат истаков. Но веројатно треба да престанам да го носам. Баш е неудобен. Free the nipples. На училиште не смееш да кажеш што мислиш. Никој не го прави тоа. Не смееш да бидеш премногу грд, премногу паметен, премногу откачен, премногу луд, премногу радосен, ништо премногу. Дури не премногу згоден, како Фатима. Тогаш те сметаат за приглупа. А Фатима е всушност добра и паметна. Понекогаш многу ми се смачува од тоа да бидам јас. Но не знам што би одбрала да бидам наместо тоа. Кога бев во пониските оделенија, сакав да бидам момче. Се чинеше дека тоа е полесно. Може да се прават грешки, а тоа истовремено и да не е погрешно. Сега врска со женските беше некако како за слабаци. Например, никогаш не носев сукња на училиште. Некако ме беше срам како да бев гола. Всушност, не ме е јасно од што се срамев. Но имаше нешто во тоа чувство што се имаше залепено за мене. Како малку сладок, задушлив мирис. Сакам да бидам своја. Ни женска, ни дечко. Само јас. Само јас, без тоа лепливо чувство.
I identified the most in this book because when I was growing up, I really hated being a girl, and I wanted to be a boy because that's how I felt very free, thinking of myself as a boy, and even because we grew up reading books in which no female characters were strong and brave, and you could not look up to female characters because we didn't have those books, except maybe Pippi Longstocking. But I don't know why I never identified with Pippi Longstocking. It was not, she was not my favorite character. Yes, actually my favorite character was one girl from, now I don't remember actually the name. It is a Russian author called, I think, Lydia Charskaya or something like that. Sibirka. And that was the book I identified with, because girl there, who is an orphan, is so brave because she works in a circus and she puts her head in lions' jaws. So we didn't grow up having books that with characters that we can identify with. And all of us, I think, growing in that time, because I'm born in the 70s, I really wanted to be a boy, or if not boy, either. I didn't want to be nor girl nor boy. So really I identified with that sentence, and I really want to ask you about that.
Yeah, I felt the same. I couldn't put words on it. It was just a feeling that it was unjust, and I didn't want to be like that. It was like something a little bit unique. I didn't really identify with. So it's complicated, really.
But did your daughter, when you were writing the book, felt the same, and she?
No, not really, not in that perspective. But she said she's very, very open, and she said really I used some of her focus in this. I don't know if I want to be with a boy or with a girl, or I decide later. She was like that. Yeah. We'll see. And the guy said, "They're so disgusting."
Yes, but the interesting thing is that here it's now, let's say, our youth is quite open, and they are talking about are strongly against those things. Older people. So our other guest here is Vanda Čizmek from Croatia, an illustrator, and she told me yesterday that the taxi driver who was driving them asked them, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "We are doing some books. Are those books spoiling, the ones that are spoiling our children?"
Oh, really?
Talking about boys, girls, LGBTQ, gender fluidity. Are those kind of dead books?
Oh, really?
So, yes, but actually we were thinking about gender fluidity when we were growing up, but no one understood what that was. Because all of us wanted to be boys or not boys nor girls. So I really wanted to talk about this because this was for me the most interesting part.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you see the ones who did that thing, some do different organizations. That's how it should be, I think. And I'm also glad that it's not only, I mean, this is not a children's book, because a child wouldn't read. But it's what I've been doing lately is I don't like to do books for a certain age. But this is because it helps to do these books that looks like a children's book, but it isn't. So that really helped me doing my work. Because when I started doing this, somebody for the other book that about the rabbits, some critic read it for the 3-year-old and thought, this was so. But why? You can't read this book for a 3-year-old. I mean, because it looks like a picture book. They just assume it's for children. It's not.
But the genre picture books for grown-ups now is...
Yeah, they're starting to be more. Like that.
I would like to finish with saying that this is a book, not book at all for parents, but a book for young adults, because it expresses important things which are important for parents to know about their children growing up, and it's in a way that is easily emotionally understandable. Then another way that it is important that this book in this particular context, well, many of the people are like a taxi driver, that this book exists and it can be bought. So that's what I wanted to say once again publicly about Biljana and the choice of books she makes. It's important that we have them. Because our writers, Macedonian writers, are not going to write a book about these things in this direct and open way in the next decades or two. So it's very important that we make this choice, and I think that we should be grateful that we have the book. So yeah, it's important. It's a book for parents more than a book for kids, but both. Sometimes it's easier to use it as a medium to continue to talk with your children. It's easier when you have something close, like a movie or a book.
I was very happy that parts of it is used in school books. It's printed in a school book.
It is?
Yeah. Yes,
it's good. Well, that's important information. Thank you. That's important. When we're talking about education and good examples in school books, it's important to know that in Sweden they make this choice.
I think that we have a question.
I would like to go back to the discussion. You started growing up with this very similar feeling. I don't want to have a gender, or I want to be a boy. And by the age of 14 or around that age, where I think the book is talking about, I had a feeling of, this was not the word, but the feeling of misogyny, very big, internalized misogyny. And I wanted to ask you how this character manages to escape this trap that many women fall into, ending up with having this internalized misogyny that's usually not using her half of the word, but really feeling this bias of feeling their body.
How is she, the character in the book? Well, she's a tough cake. So she will of course have some hard experience, but she will stand up for herself, I'm sure. And I also think she had some good characters, actually. I believe so. Even if I remember, it's a funny picture of the dad, but he's still there anyway. I remember I was my older children I was single mother with, and I remember 4 boys, and I remember they were talking, when they were teenagers, they were talking with other, I was overhearing the discussion and said, oh, I can't stand these guys who have both parents, mom and dad. They're so, they can't do anything. You have to be grown up with a single mom to understand how it really is. I was so proud to hear that. It was unexpected for me, because I felt always I had to do both, mother and father thing. See, you know, they have this a very old-fashioned look at what a man is, what a woman is. So it's much better to be with a single mother. So, the parents is important.
If we don't have some other questions, I don't know if you want to ask something additional about the book. Because today with Anna we had workshop in the bookshop Ilika, and they had many different questions about the process of making the book, the illustrations. So I'm trying not to repeat all those things that we were talking about this afternoon. And I think that we have touched completely different things in this conversation.
Yeah, we were talking more about the pictures and how process and so on.
Yeah, so I think that we're fine.
I think we're fine. I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
What we were talking about before was important about contradiction, about the philosophy inside, the contradiction of growing up, and the contradiction that actually never leaves us. So maybe that's the theme that we have to close the promotion with. Tell me about Biде as a contradiction, a big contradictional character, because she has different feelings that are somehow ambivalent.
Yeah, and I think it's important that just accept that. That's how it is. Everything has 2 sides, right? And it's hard to that's life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But somehow in a culture that we learn to make a difference between weak and involved, black and white. Somehow we are taught, we are trained to feel anxious when we are ambivalent and we feel the contradictions inside. So,
I think it's important to feel that it's okay. That's how it is. Keep asking questions and you change your point of view. That's how it is. That's okay.
That's life and that's growth.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the book.
Thank you very much for good questions.
Yeah. Thank you. So Anna is here. If you want to meet her in person, talk with her. I just want to mention one thing that she said today, that this book came out when Me Too movement was very strong in Sweden, and it had really huge impact.
Yes, it was a revolution. I was so happy. So the book came out at the same time.
Yeah, and that's why it was really, I think, successful and reached and entered the school system as well.
Anyway, I was happy.
Thank you. So we can hang out.